the title of this episode is so funny, which is weird because instead of being something like, I don't know, what if Hank Pym brought back more from the quantum realm than Janet Van Dyne? That would make sense because that's kind of what this episode is, but nope, it's just called What If Zombies. It's a great title. I love it. And this episode probably had the most negative stuff of any of these episodes so far for me, but I don't think it's my least favorite because the good stuff is so overwhelmingly great that it kind of balances out. So, yeah, there is that. I did like this better than the first one. I would much rather rewatch this episode. But there were a couple issues here. In fact, a few more than a couple. So, yeah. I'm really not sure how I feel about the Avengers that survived just killing off the Avengers that are turned into zombies just willy-nilly in a very cavalier sort of fashion, and they don't seem to care that much. Like when Bucky kills zombie Captain America, he's just like, sorry pal, this is the end of the line. And while that's extremely clever writing, it feels a little weird because, they've been best friends for like 75 years or whatever, who cares? Yeah, just kill the dude. I mean, I understand that they're zombies. I get that. And that they're like threatening life, but I feel like they would care a little bit. And maybe there wasn't enough time to address some of these issues in this episode because there's a lot in this episode. But I mean, maybe if it had been a little bit longer, it would have had time to address some of those issues of like, oh man, we Avengers who are left are just killing off the other Avengers. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, nor am I sure about how I feel about them just killing innocent people. And I know that they're zombies, but I don't know, that just seems a little bit out of character for all of them. So there is that. And then there's some little nitpicks that I had here and there. There seems to be some sort of strange romantic chemistry between Peter Parker and Hope Van Dyne, which might just have been me, but they seemed, in the interactions that they had, which were brief, mind you, but yeah, in the interactions that they had, it felt like they were, I don't know, it just felt like they were connecting on a different level than just being friends. And, like, in Hope's final moments of being alive, she's like, smile for me. And that just felt a little strange. That could have just been the delivery from the actors. There's a different actor playing Spider-Man here. It's not Tom Holland, and he's fine. He does a decent job. And then speaking of Spider-Man, okay, I don't know if this was just me, but to me, this version of Spider-Man in this episode looked a heck of a lot more like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man than he did Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And he kind of sounded like a much higher-pitched version of Jake Johnson, who voiced Peter B. Parker in Into the Spider-Verse. So that was weird and strange, and I'm not sure why they did it, but I don't know. I mean, I know the designs are, like, supposed to be cartoonish, but I don't know, it just felt weird to me. But when you actually get into the episode and its good parts, it's phenomenal. It's so cool and so clever. So it starts with the opening of Infinity War, and I was like, oh, this is the opening of Infinity War. And it's like a shot for shot of the opening of Infinity War. Kind of like how the opening of the first episode was kind of a shot for shot version of the scene where Steve gets the serum in First Avenger. So that was cool. And then as you move into it, as Banner discovers the Avengers beating up Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian, it was cool to see them again, by the way. you kind of know something's off. A, because we were all aware that this was a zombie episode because it says it in the title. And B, because I don't know, because the Avengers are being unnecessarily rough with these guys. And, like, they're beating them up, they're using their powers, and Banner's like, whoa, that's so cool. Yeah, go Iron Man. So that was funny. But then they start eating them, and Banner's just like, that's a little weird. And I was thinking also, oh, they're eating them, so they must be zombies. Turns out they were zombies. And just the way they incorporated the actual Avengers into these zombie designs were just so cool. They were so cool. Like, Iron Man, Captain America, they all look great. Every single character. And then just the surviving characters in this episode, it's really fun that we get to see these specific characters interacting. You have Okoye, Bucky Barnes, Peter Parker, Wasp, Bruce Banner, Happy Hogan, Sharon Carter, who is not terrible. Thank God we get something of Sharon Carter in the year 2021 where she doesn't suck. Whoopee! That's a little bit of a knock on Falcon and Winter Soldier. And Kurt. Kurt is back. His Russian accent is still terrible, and David Dastmalchian is still fantastic in the role. I like him more as Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad, but still. Yeah. So there's that. The action is still cool. The animation is still excellent, aside from that one little thing with Peter Parker's design. And then as you move in throughout the course of the episode, we see a couple more characters like Vision. And Vision, of course, is not human, so he's not impacted by the zombies. So that was cool. I didn't think of that at the start of this episode, because before this show premiered, I saw that Paul Bettany was going to be in it, and I was like, oh, cool, Paul Bettany. Cool. And then he showed up, and I was like, oh, that's Vision, because the camera just kind of moves, and Vision's just there. That he's just there. It's very cool. Scott Lang shows up, or Scott Lang's head shows up. He tells some really terrible jokes that were kind of amusing, even though they were kind of bad. And yeah, his design was a little bit strange too. But I don't know, that might be just me. It kind of looks like Glenn Howerton, which is weird. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, we see T'Challa, who I was not expecting to see, because in like the opening montage where the Watcher's explaining how this whole zombie thing happened, the backstory for that is really, really interesting. How it was taken from the quantum realm, because that makes sense. There's a ton of weird crap in the quantum realm that we have absolutely no idea about. And it turns out that T'Challa did not die along with or was not infected along with the other Avengers, because it shows them like being attacked by the zombies, and then I believe T'Challa was attacked, but they never say, or they never actually show him in zombie form. And they showed every other character that was in that shot in zombie form. Like, they showed Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye, but they hadn't showed Black Panther yet. And I believe there was somebody else. I do not remember who. I just watched the episode like 45 minutes ago. Or I started at 40. I don't know. Anyway, so it was cool to see Black Panther again. Of course, Chadwick Boseman kills it. And then just as you get to the climax, it becomes a little bit more emotionally resonant. I see that, Vision's kind of evil in this episode, because he's held Wanda captive because he's had to for the sake of others. And then he has lured people to this compound where he's staying in order for Wanda to feed on them. And good Lord, is that demonic. And like Vision reasons with himself. He's like, I assure you, they were born of logic. And while they may have been born of logic, it feels it's wrong, and it feels in character for Vision at the point he would have been at in Infinity War, because he was slowly starting to become more human and taking on the appearance of a human. I mean, he had to do that, but still, he was starting to care more for Wanda, and it makes sense that he would do this right now. Yeah, so that was cool. Not also, Vision literally does what Thanos does to him. He pinches the Mind Stone and rips it out of his skull. It's awesome, and it's heartbreaking. Anyway, and then the situation just becomes more desperate. Banner turns into Hulk, and they get away after a little bit of a debacle with giant zombie wasp that was just huge. And then at the end, we get the tease of zombie Thanos. Like, I didn't think throughout this episode, like, oh, we're not going to see Thanos. I mean, why would we? Like, then it occurred to me as I was watching the end, like, oh, I mean, if the Avengers were all either zombies or trying to stop the zombies, there was nobody to stop Thanos from getting to Earth and getting to Wakanda. And if there was no Iron Man or Spider-Man, then there probably, or Doctor Strange, then there probably wouldn't have been anyone to ever stop Thanos from getting any of the stones, so he could have very easily just wiped out Thor and the Guardians when he was up there fighting them. And then, yeah, I mean, it would have been easy for him to get into Wakanda. There's no Wakandans there, or, I mean, there might be, like, M'Baku and Shuri and them, but, I mean, come on. They don't say it. They never even fought Thanos in the first place. It was all the Avengers, and yeah, if everyone that we saw was, like, destroyed by the zombie apocalypse, then there would be no one to stop Thanos from getting any of the stones. Yeah. That was a lot of rambling I just did. Anyway, the score to this episode was great. Peter mentions Uncle Ben, which is like the second Uncle Ben reference that there's been, aside from Peter's suitcase in Far From Home being labeled, I think it might be Peter Benjamin Parker, or just Ben Parker. I don't know. So this was a really solid episode. It wasn't great. I don't think I liked it as much as episodes 2, 3, and 4, but it was still a really good episode nonetheless. So thank you for watching. What did y'all think of this episode? And keep calm and watch on.